The Forbidden One archetype, known in the Japanese as the Sealed archetype, are a series of dark spellcaster monsters with some very powerful and unique abilities. The most iconic of these, and the one that inspired all of the other designs, is Exodia, the Forbidden One. These 5 cards once served as the pinnacle of a dual monster's potential in both the anime and manga, as well as in the real world. This was due to the cards, at the time of their release, having the completely unique ability to instantly win its owner the game. Exodia itself gained its notoriety from being the secret trump card of Yugi's grandpa's deck, which he used against Seto Kaiba. Kaiba was a man of wealth and had brought some of the highest attack point cards in the game to battle against him, going as far as to even insult Yugi by telling him to draw his last pathetic card. However, Yugi proved that it doesn't matter what a monster's attack points are, as there are no pathetic cards. Least of all, the unstoppable Exodia. Impossible! So how about we learn a little bit of lore on Exodia and each of its counterparts, starting with Exodia the Forbidden One. Left arm of the Forbidden One, left leg of the Forbidden One, right arm of the Forbidden One, and right leg of the Forbidden One. Exodia the Forbidden One's effect is if you have the right leg, right arm, and left arm in addition to this card in your hand, you win the duel. The other 4 parts are normal monsters, and as such their flavor text reads a forbidden right leg or right arm or left arm which is sealed by magic. Whosoever breaks this seal will know infinite power. Now a bit of backstory on the card. In the anime and manga, Exodia was known as a monster with such immeasurable power that the people of the land were forced to split him into 5 separate parts in order to weaken him enough so that he could be sealed with their magic. Now being bound by chains, he was given the name Forbidden One to signify that he was one of the first monsters ever to be added to the ancient forbidden list. You remember that one, right? The September 1000 BC ban list?
This footage was recovered from the outskirts of a town called Kol El Nar. We can see that the dig team has discovered something truly unsettling, a corpse holding an ancient Egyptian forbidden and limited list. The markings were foreign to us at first, but we managed to discover it was the ban list from 10,000 BC. We managed to decipher this one on the left as Exodia the Forbidden One. However, this one on the right, I'm not too sure what it does. Perhaps it has been lost in time.
But in all seriousness though, since the creation of the official Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden and Limited list, Exodia and all its pieces have been on the limited part of that forbidden list from its creation all the way to modern day. I just wonder if it'll ever change. Now, despite Exodia being torn apart, if someone were able to bring each one of the parts of Exodia back together, the seals would be broken, and Exodia's power would re-emerge. As thanks, Exodia would grant the one who made him whole again an instant win in their duel. In fact, it could be said that Exodia, with its overwhelming strength, was one of the first godlike cards in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Game. Now, the anime's origin takes heavy inspiration from the real-world story of the ancient Egyptian god Osiris. In the story, Osiris was revered as a god of knowledge, and was the one believed to have first established the role of the pharaoh. One day though, his brother Set grew jealous of his brother's power, and so cut him into multiple pieces. The pieces were then scattered to the winds of Egypt. Osiris did not stay apart for long though, as his wife Isis collected every last piece of him and reformed him just long enough so that she could bear his son. His son was given the name Horus, and with a true heir born, Osiris left for the land of the dead to become its new ruler. So you can kind of see the parallels between the real world and the anime there. Anyway, back to the card. Did you know Exodia the Forbidden One was one of the first 5 ever effect monsters to be released in the real world card game? They were released in the pack Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon in 2002. In fact, Exodia was the only one of these effect monsters not to be a flip monster. The others were Maneater Bug, Hane, Armed Ninja, and Reaper of the Cards. Exodia and all its pieces have had their artworks changed from the Japanese to the international by having the pentagram removed and replaced with the spellbinding circle. In fact, the 5 pieces also had changes before this, as in the manga version and the first series anime, the head was a level 7 monster, while the Bandai version was a level 8 instead. In fact, the card text on the Bandai version was quite interesting. Its lore read, the 4-limb cards of this god were separated. By assembling the 5 pieces, he revives and all enemies are obliterated instantaneously. His special rule read, when the 5 different parts of Exodia are all in your hand, you are declared winner at that exact moment. Notably, some of the Exodia cards appear in the artworks of others, such as Exchange, Big Win, and the anime exclusive card, Damaging Hand. The head of Exodia itself appears in the card Contract with Exodia, while the full body version of Exodia that appears in the legendary Exodia Incarnate appears in the trap card Obliterate. Finally, in the manga and Japanese anime, Exodia's normal attack is called Raging Hellfire Exod Flame, while its instant win ability was given the name Obliterate in the English dub.
Exodia! Obliterate!
Exodius, the Ultimate Forbidden Lord, known in the Japanese as Exodius, the Ultimate Sealed God. His effect is he cannot be normal summoned or set, he must be special summoned from your hand by shuffling all monsters in your graveyard into the deck, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. When this card declares an attack, send 1 monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard. This card gains 1000 attack for each normal monster in your graveyard. If this face-up card would leave the field, banish it instead. If there are 5 different Forbidden 1 cards in your graveyard that were sent there by this card's effect, you win the duel. Now, Exodius was first released in the Japanese in 2007 as an ultra rare card in Weekly Shonen Jump issue 35. 1 year later, it would make its English debut in Shonen Jump May 2008 subscription bonus as an ultra rare card, and it would take a further 2 more years until its worldwide release in 2010's collectible tin Wave 2. So looking at this monster's effect, it is clear that it is an evolution to Exodia. To simplify its win condition, every attack Exodius makes, a monster must be sent to the graveyard. This will increase its attack for each normal monster sent there, and if all 5 Exodia pieces are in the grave for this monster's effect, you win the duel. So looking at the original Exodia pieces, the problem that they have is that they had no battling ability whatsoever, nor did they have any real field presence. Exodius solves this problem with one of the easiest summoning conditions to be met by simply putting all the monsters in your grave back into the deck, as well as the ability to increase its attack for every normal monster in the graveyard, potentially giving the user a monster with a pretty decent amount of attack on the field. Now what this does is it gives you essentially 4 options for victory. 1, you could win with the Exodia pieces already in the deck. Plus, there is a 1 in 658,000 chance you could win before the duel even starts by drawing them all in your hand the first turn. It's called a 0-turn kill. The second way you could win is by using Exodius' ability to send all of the pieces into the grave to win that way. The third way to win is to use Exodius' attack gaining ability to win the duel the normal way through obliterating your opponent's life points. The fourth way is if you and your opponent are pretty low on cards in your deck, just use this guy to replenish yours and just wait for your opponent to deck out. In fact, I've even thought of a 5th one. If all else fails, this monster is a very easy level 10 monster to summon to the field, so just use it for a big Xyz monster play instead. I'm sure that guy will sort you out anyway. So as you can see, this card has a lot of options. In fact, it was used in the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime as a boss monster for Adrian Gecko. He was forced to sacrifice the woman he loved in order to receive this monster's power. So of course this card had to be unstoppable. Wait, what's that? Adrian lost with it 4 episodes later? How embarrassing. Now, if we take a look at the artwork of Exodius, we can see that this incarnation of Exodia has the least amount of armor compared to all of the others. In fact, Exodius is one of the only forms of Exodia where you can actually see its real skin, something that is highlighted in the anime too, as when this monster attacks, you can clearly see him flexing the old muscles. Fun fact, the first ever English Exodius the Ultimate Forbidden Lord for Jump was misprinted. The dark attribute attribute symbol in the upper right-hand corner of the card was given the trap card color scheme instead. In fact, looking at the difference between the dark attribute and the trap attribute, there's very little between them, so pretty good spot, whoever spotted that. This monster's arm appears in the artwork of the anime card Defense Seal Wall. And finally, this monster's attack name was Lightning Fire Flash in the English and Lightning Flash of the Heavens, Exod Blast in the Japanese. The legendary Exodia Incarnate, known in the Japanese as Summoned God Exodia. Cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned from your hand by attributing one Forbidden One monster, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. This card gains 1000 attack for each Forbidden One monster in your graveyard. Unaffected by other cards' effects, once per turn during your end phase, add one Forbidden One monster from your graveyard to your hand. When this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can reveal any number of Forbidden One monsters in your hand, and if you do, draw one card for each. Now, the legendary Exodia Incarnate made its Japanese debut in Millennium Box Gold Edition in 2015 as a Millennium Gold rare card. 1 year later, it would be released internationally in Legendary Dex 2 as an ultra rare. If Exodius the Ultimate Forbidden Lord was seen as the cousin to Exodia, then the legendary Exodia Incarnate is seen as the true completed form of Exodia the Forbidden One. It is the result of Exodia no longer being bound by the chains that bind him, and he is able to wield his true potential in battle. This is made most obvious by how Exodia is now completely unaffected by other cards' effects. Some may say that this monster is weaker than Exodia simply because it lacks the instant win ability. However, I would argue that the two complement each other, since as Exodia Incarnate becomes weaker for each turn it is on the field, Exodia the Forbidden One becomes stronger, as it is added to the hand, and as such the instant win criteria becomes closer to being met. Of course, this also works the other way round, since as Exodia the Forbidden One's instant win moves further away from being achieved by them being sent to the graveyard, Exodia Incarnate simply grows more in strength. Now, this monster appears in the artwork of Obliterate, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. As well, this card's artwork is taken from Yu-Gi-Oh! Millennium World Duel 52, The Guardian God, where Exodia attacks Agnadin's Army of the Dead. Finally, it's worth mentioning that if we look at this monster's artwork and compare it to all of the other incarnates of Exodia, this is the only one that has not had its ankh removed between the Japanese and the international artworks. Exodia Necros. Cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned with contract with Exodia, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. Cannot be destroyed by battle or spell or trap effects. Once per turn during your standby phase, this card gains 500 attack. Destroy this card unless all 5 of these cards are in your graveyard. Exodia the Forbidden One, right arm of the Forbidden One, left arm of the Forbidden One, right leg of the Forbidden One, left leg of the Forbidden One. First released in 2002 in Japan with Power of the Guardian as a normal rare card, it wouldn't be until 2003 it would be released in the English as an ultra rare in Dark Crisis, of which it was the cover card for that pack. Originally a ritual monster in the anime, it could only be summoned with a ritual spell, Contract with Exodia, which interestingly required no tributes to activate, instead required a payment of life points instead. Exodia Necros' anime effect was this card gains the following effects while a Forbidden One card is in your graveyard. If the left leg is in there, this card cannot be destroyed by spell cards. If the right leg's in there, this card cannot be destroyed by trap cards. If the left arm is in there, then this card can't be destroyed by the effects of other effect monsters. If the right arm's in there, whenever this card battles an opponent's monster, it gains 1000 attack at the end of each damage step. If Exodia the Forbidden One is in there, then this card cannot be destroyed by battle. Pretty powerful then, really. And if we take that into account with how the effect has been adapted for the real world game, it is clear that while Exodia the Forbidden One requires all of its cards to be in the hand for its power to be unlocked, Necros requires the complete opposite, requiring all of them to be in the graveyard instead. This makes Necros the perfect fallback plan should all of the Exodia pieces be sent to the grave and your Exodia instant win be denied. If we add the attack of all the Exodia pieces together, we get 1800 attack, the same as this monster. However, in terms of its defense being 0, many people consider this card as an undead version of Exodia, since all the pieces must be in the grave. As well, its name of Necros translates to dead in Greek. Knowing this, zombie monsters in the Yu-Gi-Oh card game tend to follow a similar defense point pattern of having essentially no defense at all, since they are undead. So of course, this monster follows suit. Finally, this card's artwork was taken from Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel 39 Endgame when Exodia was fully summoned, and its attack name in the anime was called Exodia Crush in the Japanese. Exod, Master of the God, known in the Japanese as Protector God Exod. This card cannot be normal summoned or set. This card cannot be special summoned except by attributing one Sphinx monster. Each time an Earth monster is flip summoned while this card remains face up on the field, inflict 1000 damage to your opponent. First released in Structure Deck Invincible Fortress back in 2005, this was in fact my first ever Structure Deck that I owned. Now, Exod actually served as the cover card for that deck too, and I recently remade the Invincible Fortress deck just to sort of have a little throwback to see what it was like, and it's pretty awful, especially nowadays. It really requires you to have a really silly opponent that just attacks into your monsters. If they choose not to attack, then you can have some problems with it. Yeah, it wasn't the best. It was still fun though. Both Exodia the Forbidden One and Exodius the Ultimate Forbidden Lord both have attacks with the name Exod in them, so perhaps Exod Master of the Guard is a reference to this. And it's definitely worth mentioning that Exod Master of the Guard, though it greatly resembles Exodia, and in a Konami interview they publicized that this card was in fact the final incarnation of Exodia in terms of design, everything else to do with this card would make you think otherwise, since Exod lacks the automatic win effect of Exodia or any reference to Exodia in its card effects like the Forbidden One pieces. The words Exodia or Forbidden One are not present in its name, and the big one is the fact that this monster is an Earth Rock type monster instead of a Dark spellcaster. As such, you could probably consider Exod as a fully assembled version of Exodia, however it is simply still sealed away, just not separated, I guess. Just like Exodia Necros, whose attack was the combination of all the pieces of Exodia, Exod's defense is all of the attack and defense points of the Exodia pieces combined. In fact, Exod has the highest defense of all rock-type monsters in the game, and only second highest to some powerful non-rock monsters. Finally, this card appeared in the anime-exclusive artwork of Dance of the Guardian. Moving on to the support cards, we have Obliterate. You can target one monster on the field, send one Forbidden One monster or Exodia card from your hand or deck to the graveyard, and if you do, return that target to the hand. If this card is sent from the spell and trap zone to the graveyard, you can target one Forbidden One monster or Exodia card in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only use one Obliterate effect per turn, and only once that turn. Contract with Exodia. If you have all 5 of Exodia the Forbidden One, right arm of the Forbidden One, left arm of the Forbidden One, right leg of the Forbidden One, and left leg of the Forbidden One in your graveyard, special summon one Exodia Necros from your hand. Lastly, there are also the anime exclusive cards, Ritual of the Ultimate Forbidden Lord, Break the Seal, and Defense Seal Wall. And with that, guys, that's the Exodia archetype done!